She was forced to undergo the ritual of widow inheritance. A stranger, a man she did not love, was chosen to sleep with her in a small, dark hut because the culture dictated that a woman must be cleansed before she could move on. As a child, I did not understand everything, but I saw. I saw how the people who should have comforted her turned against her instead. I saw how my mother, once full of life, became a shadow of herself. Most of all, I saw what it meant to be unwanted. We were girls. And in that family, girls had no voice. I watched my mother become a slave in her own home. She toiled from dawn to dusk, yet no matter how much she did, it was never enough. One day, the elders finally said what they had been thinking all along. A widow belongs in her parents' home. Why are you still here? That was it. They wanted her gone. The weight of it all became too much. My mother fell into a deep depression. The once strong woman I knew became fragile, like clay cracked by the sun. One day she collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. She lay there, barely breathing. And then, in the evening, my grandmother came to see her. She was drunk, swaying as she stood outside the hospital window. She did not even enter the room. Instead, she peered through the glass and muttered, her words slurred with alcohol. Poke Otto? She's not dead yet. That was all she had to say. A friend of my mother's, a kind woman with a heart unlike the rest, came to her rescue. She offered my mother one of her rental houses in town. Stay here, she said, free of charge, at least until you can stand on your own. For the first time in a long while, we had peace. By this time, my elder sister had made the hardest choice of all, marriage. Not for love, but to ease the burden, to allow us younger ones to stay in school. A sacrifice I will never forget. Time passed, and my mother decided it was time to build her own home. She wanted a place where she wouldn't have to pay rent, where no one could throw her out again. But our culture had another rule. A woman could not build a home on her own. She needed a male figure to do it on her behalf, so she found one, and that was her greatest mistake. He was a man from our village, someone we had known since childhood, a man with a reputation for all the wrong reasons, a drunk, a troublemaker, a man no one could trust. But he convinced my mother he had changed. He claimed he had found salvation, that he no longer drank, no longer smoked, no longer wandered the village looking for trouble. For 2 years, we believed him. Then the mask fell off. He returned to drinking, to staying out late, coming home in the dead of night, cursing, breaking things. The violence followed soon after. He fought my mother. He fought us. He threatened to kill us. He has always threatened to kill us all. It's 2025. The story has not changed. This man still fights us and threatens to get rid of us in ways people will never believe. Water pots, hoes, machetes, anything within reach became a weapon. Some nights, after he had beaten my mother to the point of breaking bones, we would sneak her away to a neighbor's house just so she could have a safe place to sleep. But even through the bruises and the pain, she never gave up. She fought. She did every small business she could find, selling vegetables, washing clothes, making mandazi by the roadside, anything to keep us in school. She carried the weight of the world on her shoulders, and yet she never let it crush her. And so, when I saw that post about a father, I finally understood. I had never known what it felt like to have one. But maybe I didn't need to, because I had my mother, and she was stronger than any man I had ever known. As time goes, a big girl I am now, I am beginning to connect my dots about the kind of men I have allowed into my life previously. That little girl in me was always looking for a father, Figure qualities in a man: protection, attention, care, pampering. I can now relate.